If you have ever picked up a glittering yellow rock and felt that rush in your chest, the one that whispers you just found a fortune, you are not alone. Across riverbeds and mine tunnels and dusty trails, the same moment has played out for centuries. Hearts race. Hands shake. Dreams sprint ahead to mansions, medals, and myth. Then reality taps the brakes. The shine fades. The verdict lands. Not gold. Fool's gold. But here is the twist most people miss. The story of gold versus pyrite is not just a tale of winners and imitators. It is a lesson in how the earth builds beauty, how our eyes are so easily persuaded, and how a so-called impostor helped science, industry, and even paleontology move forward. Today we are going to separate shimmer from substance and show exactly what sets true gold apart from its brazen look-alike, and why both have surprising value. Let us start at the beginning. Gold is an element. One pure kind of atom stitched together in dense metallic bonds that refuse to rust or break down. That is why ancient coins still gleam and why electronics trust gold to carry a clean signal. Pyrite is a compound. Iron plus sulfur in a tight crystal structure that forms almost everywhere. The crust cooks up heat, pressure, and briny fluids. Where gold tends to gather in veins and placers as lumps and flakes, pyrite erupts as perfect little cubes, sharp-edged clusters, and sparkling dust that lights up a pan. Both are showstoppers in the sunlight. Only one is the real royal metal. If you hold the two side by side, the first difference you will notice is color quality. Gold glows. It looks warm even in shade, almost buttery, like light is blooming from inside the metal rather than bouncing off the surface. Pyrite flashes. It appears brassy or slightly greenish, and its shine is sharp, almost glitter-like, with tiny points that blink on and off as you turn it. That difference is not a trick of photography. It happens because gold's electrons absorb parts of the blue end of the spectrum, leaving that deep yellow tone, while pyrite's metallic luster reflects broadly without that same rich warmth. In simple terms, gold glows while pyrite sparkles. Shape tells another story. Natural gold dislikes straight lines. Nuggets round off as rivers tumble them. Flakes bend and curl at the edges. Even little bits look like chewed gum pressed flat. Pyrite loves geometry. Its favorite outfit is the cube, often so crisp it looks machined. You will also see 12-faced or 20-faced versions, but the edges stay razor clean. If the gold in your hand looks like tiny dice, or like stacks of thin plates that form a perfect crosshatch, you are probably admiring pyrite. Touch test time. Gold is soft. On the Mohs hardness scale, it sits around 2.5 to 3, softer than a copper coin. Push a point into real gold and you will leave a dent. Roll a small flake between your fingers and it will bend, not crumble. Pyrite is hard and brittle, around 6 to 6.5. Try to scratch it with a steel knife and the knife may lose. Hit pyrite with a hammer and it will fracture or shatter rather than flatten. That is why old-time prospectors learned fast. If a supposed nugget refuses to deform and instead chips like glass, your payday just broke into pieces. Weight is the giveaway that never lies. Gold is unbelievably dense, about 19 times heavier than water. Pyrite is a lightweight by comparison, around 5. Two similar-sized pebbles tell the tale. The gold one feels shockingly heavy, like it should not be possible for something that small to pull your palm down. In a gold pan, both will sink, but gold rockets to the bottom and stays there through gentle swirls, while pyrite dances higher with the sand. If your pan repeatedly reveals the same bright fleck glued to the base, no matter how softly you wash the material, that is a good sign you have got the real thing. If you want a clean, non-destructive test, there is a simple tool used in geology labs, the streak plate. Drag your specimen across a strip of unglazed porcelain. Gold leaves a golden yellow streak that matches its body color. Pyrite leaves a dark greenish-black streak because iron reacts on the surface as it scrapes. That result is reliable even under bad lighting. Another classic clue is malleability. Place a tiny piece on a flat rock and tap gently. Gold will mash into a little foil. Pyrite will pop or powder. If you tap and see sparks, that is a signature of pyrite as well, the same spark-making trick that gave it a name connected to fire. Why did so many people mistake one for the other for so long? Put yourself in the scene. 150 years ago, you are cold, wet, and exhausted. The sun is low, or you are underground with candles. Your livelihood hangs on what twinkles in your pan. Pyrite grows in the same rocks that host real gold, so finding it is not just common, it is expected. In raking sunlight, the brassy flash looks convincingly rich. Confirmation bias does the rest. Prospectors joked that the color of your mood changed the color of the rock. Hope paints brassy yellow into royal gold. Reality scrubs it back to iron and sulfur. There is a science story here worth savoring. Gold's famous hue is a quirk of physics. Most metals reflect all visible light and look silvery. Gold's heavy atoms push electrons to energies where they absorb blue and violet a little more than the rest. So the mixture we see is yellow and red, that warm gleam. Pyrite's crystal structure bounces light differently. It is highly reflective, but does not have the same selective absorption. That is why pyrite's shine is colder and its gleam comes in points rather than a steady inner glow. Your eyes notice the difference even when your brain does not have the right words for it yet. Smell and chemistry can weigh in too, though you should be cautious. Scratch or crush pyrite, and sometimes a faint sulfur smell shows up, especially if the rock is weathered. Gold has no odor. If you were to place a drop of nitric acid on a hidden spot, a jeweler's trick gold resists the reaction while pyrite can fizz or tarnish as the iron is attacked. Do not try that in the field without protection, but it explains why professional buyers carried little bottles to separate dreams from metal in a moment. So if the verdict is clear, where does that leave fool's gold? Surprisingly respected. In jewelry, polished pyrite gives a rustic metallic look that pairs well with dark stones and wood. In geology, pyrite is a storyteller. Its cubes in shale can map out ancient ocean conditions. Its growth rings and inclusions record the chemistry of the fluids that built it. In mining, pyrite is a flag that tells you fluids once flowed here, and where fluids move, gold sometimes tags along. Many of the world's microscopic gold deposits, the kind processed by modern mills, hide inside pyrite grains. Crush, roast, and leach the rock correctly and the gold locked within comes out. In other words, the so-called impostor often carried the real treasure on its back. There is more. Sulfur from pyrite has been a foundation of industrial chemistry, including the production of sulfuric acid, a workhorse used to make fertilizers, dyes, and detergents. Modern sources are cleaner and more controlled, but the history remains. Researchers also explore pyrite's role in low-cost solar cells and battery electrodes because it is abundant and non-precious. Even paleontology gets a cameo. Sometimes, as an organism decays underground, pyrite replaces its tissues grain by grain, freezing delicate shells or even soft parts in metallic detail. Fossils like that catch the light with a golden sheen, a tomb that looks like treasure and is one in its own way. Of course, nothing dethrones gold. There is a reason every culture on Earth fell in love with it. It does not tarnish. It hammers into sheets thinner than a whisper. It wires through circuits without corroding, bridging the gap between art and engineering. A tiny amount lives in your phone and your computer. Dentists lean on it. Astronauts take its reflectivity to space in visors. It has been money, medicine, myth. And while we have pulled a lot of it from the ground, it is still rare enough that a single well-fed thimble of the stuff can be worth more than a backpack full of glittering rock. Knowing the differences is not just trivia. It is power for anyone who likes to hike, pan, or just examine the world closely. Imagine you are beside a cold stream. You dip your pan and swirl. A flash anchors itself in the corner. You tilt and wash the dark sands away. The flake sticks where gravity pins it. You nudge it with your fingertip and it bends like foil. Your heart jumps and then steadies because now you are not guessing. You are observing. Or imagine the opposite. You find a glittering cube lattice in a dark shale wall. It looks like tiny skyscrapers. You grin, not because you struck it rich, but because you discovered a textbook perfect cluster of pyrite that tells you about the sea that drowned these sediments long before there were birds to sing above them. For completeness, let us talk about look-alike imposters of the impostor. Chalcopyrite, another copper iron sulfide, can also trick the eye. It is more golden than pyrite but softer, and it tarnishes to peacock rainbow colors more easily. Mica, the light flaky mineral often called isinglass, can reflect like glitter in a pan, but it is feather-light, and flakes float away with the slightest ripple. Magnetite and hematite can masquerade as dark gold in the wrong light, yet their streaks and magnetic behavior give them up quickly. The point is simple. Nature loves repetition. It also leaves fingerprints. If you learn to read them, you will not be fooled for long. There is an environmental footnote worth mentioning. When pyrite is exposed to air and water, especially after rock is crushed in mining, it can oxidize and create sulfuric acid. That reaction can dissolve metals and pollute streams, a problem called acid mine drainage. Modern mines plan around it with careful waste handling and treatment. The same chemistry that makes pyrite sparkle can bite back if we do not respect it. Gold does not cause that issue directly. Another reminder that appearance and consequence do not always travel together. By now you may be wondering how to build a simple field routine that never lets you down. Start with weight and behavior in water. Heavy pieces that rush to the pan's corner are promising. Check malleability. Bend or tap lightly. Real gold smears and flatten. Pyrite fractures. Look closely at shape. Rounded, irregular bits lean toward gold. Perfect cubes and sharp faces shout pyrite. If you can, perform a streak test on an unobtrusive edge. Yellow means gold. Dark green, black points to pyrite. Every one of those steps protects your hopes from your eyesight. Behind all of this is a deeper lesson. Gold became a global symbol because it married beauty with permanence. It is what we want treasure to be. Pyrite earned a mocking nickname because it pretended to be the thing we craved most. But when you step back, fool's gold is not foolish at all. It is a mineral that introduced countless kids to geology, a natural spark maker that lit fires, a crystal architect that grows cubes with architectural precision, a geochemical tape recorder, and yes, a glittering clue that sometimes leads you to the real thing. The world is full of lookalikes, and many of them have their own kind of worth. So what is the real difference between gold and pyrite? On paper, it is density, hardness, streak, and structure. In the hand, it is weight and malleability. In the eye, it is glow versus glitter. In the human story, it is the difference between hope and proof. Gold demands no excuses. It bears the test silently and wins. Pyrite dazzles, cracks, and teaches. One buys empires. The other buys understanding. Together, they have guided prospectors, trained scientists, and reminded the rest of us to slow down and look twice. If this deep dive changed how you see a shiny rock in a riverbed, stick around. There is always more behind the glint than the first glance reveals. If you found this helpful, give it a like so more curious minds can discover it. Subscribe for more stories where science meets story, and where a single object opens a window into the Earth's memory.